Hi, I'm Carolina with Always Expect More, and today I'm going to show you how to quilt using a walking foot. Let's get started. If you've never quilted your own quilt before, a walking foot is a great way to get started. Quilting is the process of attaching the front, the middle, and the back of your quilt together. A walking foot helps you do this with your domestic machine, and you don't need a lot of skill or practice to get started. What a walking foot does is it helps your quilt top feed through your machine better. With a traditional quilting foot, we have the quilting foot on top and the feed dogs on the bottom. When the feed dogs move, they move up and down, pulling the quilt through the machine. Your standard presser foot pushes down on top of the machine and the feed dogs pull the fabric through. When you have as many layers as you do with a quilt top, this presser foot pushing down and the feed dogs pulling through can create puckers into your quilt. A walking foot has these feed dogs on the top that go up and down as your needle goes up and down. So now, instead of just having feed dogs on the bottom of the quilt that are pulling the fabric through, you have feed dogs on the top that are simultaneously pulling the fabric on the top and bottom through, and that'll give you a much smoother result when quilting your quilts. Start by opening up the packaging for your walking foot. Every brand sewing machine will have its own walking foot. You'll want to make sure you purchase the walking foot that's right for your brand of sewing machine. Most walking feet look fairly similar. You want to make sure that you attach this arm to the needle bar. And secure the foot in place. When you lower the needle, you should see the arm go up and down. Stitch in the ditch is a great beginner technique for quilting your quilts. If you've pressed your seams to the side, you'll see that that side is slightly raised. The opposite side of the seam is the ditch. You can follow this seam and stitch right in the ditch. Let's go ahead and do that now. Place your quilt underneath the machine and lower your foot. Make sure that the needle is placed right along this seam. Your stitches will be virtually hidden right in that seam. Stitch in the ditch is a quick and easy way for a beginner to quilt their own quilts. If you'd like to straight line quilt your quilts, especially in a quilt that has a lot of negative space, start by drawing a line in the middle of your quilt. You may already have a line through the center of your quilt because of a seam. You can use this seam as your guide. Stitch down the line. And you'll have your first quilting line. You can use the edge of the foot to make multiple lines all the way across your quilt. If you'd rather have your lines spaced further apart, most walking feet will come with these guides. Your instructions will show you how the guide attaches to the back of your walking foot. You can then use this guide as you sew additional rows. That way you can determine exactly the spacing that you want when quilting your quilt. Matchstick quilting is a very popular way to quilt modern quilts. Start by first quilting all your rows the distance of the edge of the walking foot to the needle apart. Then stitch your second row, eyeballing about the middle between each of these rows. And stitch all the way down. You'll keep adding more lines all the way down one side and then do the same all the way on the other side until you have something that looks like this. But you're not done yet. Matchstick quilting means that the quilting lines are about a matchstick width apart. You have to do this one more time. Take your quilt back under, again, starting at that middle line. Eyeball between your two lines. Just like last time, we'll stitch all the way down one side, then all the way down the other, until we have a piece that looks like this. And this is matchstick quilted. Another fun way to fill negative space is with grid quilting. Grid quilting is traditionally done on an angle, although you could do it crosswise. Start by drawing your middle line and stitching with your walking foot from one end to the other. Continue making more lines by lining up either the edge of your presser foot or using the guide for your walking foot for a larger grid pattern. Go all the way down one side, then all the way down the other until you have something that looks like this. Now we're ready to make our grid happen. We need to draw a line going the opposite direction to start our grid. Use your ruler, line up using your center line, and from point to point. Now we'll do the exact same thing we just did, just crossing over our last stitches. Keep going down one side and then down the other until your grid pattern's complete.